Okay. Welcome everyone to our webinar today. Give everyone a minute to get settled and then we will get started. This is digital marketing strategies to implement in 2024. So if you're anything like us over here at Agency Revolution, you're getting ready for the new year and planning ahead. And I don't know about you, but I'm already feeling like it is 2024. I've said it so many times already.
I think it's time for every single meme we see on LinkedIn or anything to be it's a 2024 problem, right?
Absolutely. Except this webinar, which is still a 2023, not problem,
Yeah, we'll say
opportunity.
it's a 2024 problem mitigation webinar.
Absolutely. All right. Let's jump into it here. Stephanie, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. In addition to being a total nerd, I am Stefanie Altman. I'm Vice President of Marketing at Agency Revolution. Very excited to be here. We've been focusing on our 2024 planning for most of the month and excited to share some of what we've determined over that time with all of you.
Awesome. And I'm Michelle Longo. I'm the marketing manager here at Agency Revolution. And yeah, I've been planning for 2024 as well.
Team effort.
Team effort. All right. Well, this is digital marketing strategies to implement in 2024. So let's dive into our content here.
So you want
We're
me to
gonna
take
go
us
ahead.
into it? Yeah, so just the way we started to think about this was you need some basic strategies to wrap your heads around. Nothing too crazy, nothing really complex. We wanted to think about this from we always say this, you're doing a whole bunch of other things in your agency. Marketing is likely not your full-time focus. So how can we give you a little bit of advice to make sure that you're thinking about things in the right way, but still able to execute against these strategies?
Yeah, absolutely. So
Take it away.
let's all right. So we put together the top five and we're gonna dig into each one individually and kind of explain a little bit about what we mean. But first, double down on your basics. Focus on mobile first. Leverage the three C's, and I'm not going to tell you what the three C's are yet. Create a straightforward customer journey and prepare to adjust. That might be the most important one of them
Mhm.
all. Okay. Stephanie, do you want to jump into what double down on basics means?
You bet. Um, you know, Basically, doubling down on basics means stick to your tried and true strategies. We are in a hard market. We know that. The idea of going out and doing a bunch of marketing and trying to sell seems really overwhelming. However, there is overwhelming data that shows that simply doing marketing in a hard market, in challenging market conditions, has a significant, and I mean that in the statistical way, like the math way, statistically significant return once market conditions level out. So the efforts that you put in right now, that is going to pay off for you. That's kind of basic number one. Just keep on marketing. Number two is think about personalization. We are all, no matter what generation we are, now really used to at least seeing our name on something. We notice when we are advertised something that we've already purchased or that is just really not right for us. So just kind of, make your clients and make your future clients feel like they know you're talking to them. Focus on value, and that's the value of both you to your clients, and then also make sure your clients are providing that value back to you. Don't spend a ton. Don't focus on, throwing money at the wall. That's not going to provide you that value. What is going to provide you value is you showcasing your own value to your clients who you want to be able to bring you a greater share of wallet. That's so critical in the hard market, is retention and upsell. But then also, again, to your prospects, your future clients, like I like to say, let them know how you're going to help them. You don't have to feature dump. Don't have to promise all the lowest prices. Promise what it is that you do, and that is be their advisor and be there for them. uh, and have a little fun with video. You don't need anything other than your phone to make some really fun videos. There are some great in-phone editing tools that you can use, both iPhone and Android, as well as apps that you can download to do some little tweaks in there. You can even use some very, very inexpensive graphic subscription services. I like Canva, and you can do some very basic stuff with that. That's all to say, don't overthink it. Keep on marketing and like pepper in one or two little things like video.
Yep, absolutely. And just to hit on that value thing a little bit more, because in my research and preparing for this webinar, everything I looked at, value, value,
Mm-hmm.
value. Nobody wants junk. Nobody has time for messages that don't really matter just for the sake of you getting a message out. So everything has to have a purpose that you send out.
Yeah. Michelle, I love that you brought that up because that really ties together value and personalization.
Absolutely.
They go together because it's, when we go talk about feeling like someone's talking to you, that means that it's not just a name, it's not just a color scheme, it's not just the product itself, but it's the product and the message that you're talking about that means something to them. So I love that you brought that up because you can think about those two things kind of linked up with each other.
Yeah. Good. All right. So focusing on mobile first. Do you want to take this one
I'll
again?
kick it off and you can jump in.
All
How's
right.
that?
Sounds good. Perfect.
Year over year, not surprising, the share of kind of website visits of web traffic that is mobile is going up and up and up and up. And depending on how you define mobile, you may or may not include tablets. I think it's best to because it is a experience that's much closer to a kind of handheld phone than it is to a desktop. But remember that when you are out there, I mean, like we should have done a poll for this one, but who reads their email on their phone first in the morning? Like first thing I do when I wake up, much to I think my partner's annoyance, is I pick up my phone and I check my email and I see kind of what's happened in there. So I do it for work and for personal. So that's really where people are looking for the first time. You're out running around, you're making client calls, your clients are doing the same thing. So think about where you're looking for things. And so that kind of goes with email. Your website, though, I mean, that is where everyone is finding you almost the first. So you want to make sure that you have a website that is adaptive and that is mobile optimized. The Forge platform has all of that built in. We'll do a little plug here for that. It is absolutely like mobile optimized because you want things to load quickly. We don't want to be looking at our phone feeling like we've gone back to like 2003 in terms of something like taking forever to load. So start there and then think about making sure everything lays out. There's one major retailer who I love who sends emails that I can never, ever, ever like get to the bottom of it on mobile. Don't do that. Provide value, short and to the point. Michelle, you want to talk a little about the accessibility and then anything I missed?
Yeah. So again, to your point, you need to make sure that everything that your customers, prospects, clients need access to is available on all of the platforms and that all of them are available on mobile, uh, to reiterate Stephanie's point. Um, and on every level. So whether that's a form they're filling out, whether it's just a page they want to read, whether it is an email that they want to read, all of that, every step of the way has to be readable.
Mm-hmm.
If they go to read something and then they click on something else and then it's not readable, you've lost them somewhere along the way. So the effort has to be there on every single point. And additionally, oh my goodness, I totally lost my train of thought. Wow.
How's this?
Oh,
I
I remembered what I was going to say.
bring it back.
Right. Um, Speaking of mobile, we kind of hit on this on our SEO session. I think that was last week, where because people are doing all of their searches on mobile, you want to make sure that people can find you on mobile as well. So not only is it important that they can see you once they find you? You want to be findable, and that means that you're focusing on local content. So, wherever you are located, whether that's, if you're me, you would home insurance in Burbank, California. Make sure that people are finding you that way, and that's easy to add into your blogs and your social media and what have you.
Mhm.
Um, that's what I was going to say, but you were going to say
Yeah.
something.
No, I that's so important. And I'll just kind of back that up. And I know this is something that came up in our SEO talk last week. That get a little creative. It's in Burbank, California. It's in the Los Angeles area. It's in Southern California. Utilize all of those to help yourself be found. The one thing that I really want to call out in terms of accessibility in your website, do make sure that whatever platform you use is using ADA colors and fonts and has all of that available. Ultimately, that's not only going to help you kind of stay within compliance, it's great for even those who are not impacted in terms of readability. Other thing on your site is check out your navigation. Sometimes navigations get really kind of funky on mobile version of a site. Again, make sure whatever website platform you're using has that navigation optimization for mobile built in as well. Obviously, we'll tell you Forge can do that, but there are others that do that. We had a great question. You may have noticed we are speaking live now. Yes. So you're getting the real-time conversation. So do please feel free to ask other questions.
Great. All right, let's move on. So those three C's that we talked about earlier, they are content, communication, and consistency. Do you want me to take this one for a minute?
All
Give you.
you.
All right. So I'm sure you've heard the phrase content is king. It's still king. Um, your content on your website, on everything that you put out, all of that needs to be fresh. It needs to be updated. It needs to provide that value that we talked about earlier. And it's so, so important. Video is also going to be an important piece of content, but it is not all your content should be. So you can't just update video and forget about the words and the images on your actual website. Um, we know a lot of you aren't writers or you don't have time. Maybe you wish you did have more time, but you just don't. So leverage AI for an assist. That's not to say you should plug in, ChatGPT, write an article about insurance, and then just let it rip. No, you want to use that for creating an outline, for making sure that you're hitting on the topics people want to see. Use it as a starting point and then really make that content your own for a couple of reasons. First of all, you don't want to put your name on something that something else generated, but also, you want it to sound like you. You want it to sound like your agency. And again, it goes to that purpose-led value that you need to give.
I mean, Michelle and I both do a fair amount of writing here, and for me, at least, getting started is like the hardest thing. And a lot of times, I'll get done 2 paragraphs, I'll walk away, I'll come back, like, yeah, not great, Altman. This is where something like ChatGPT is great because you're like, all right, I have the idea, put it in there, let it help you get started, and then take away, and you're off to the races. That's something that I've gotten a ton out of. And you may also find there's, whether it's you or other folks in your agencies, and I'm going to steal a line from our president, Jason. He says, turn your C writers into A writers. Like, you can write something and then ask AI to kind of zhuzh it up for you. So that's a great way to utilize it without relying on
Absolutely. And then, communication. Maybe I should have put that one first. I'm not sure, but your clients, your prospects, they want to hear from you. We said that they want to hear valuable information. They want purpose-led. They don't want junk, but they do want to hear from you. So if you have something to say it by all means. Make sure that the information is available to them that they need and communicate with them consistently, timely, personalized, and offer that value. Communication is essential, especially in this hard market where your clients want to know, why is my rate going up? Why is this policy not getting renewed the way I want? Why can't I stay with the carrier that I've liked working with for however many years. Um, the way through this hard market is through that communication and making sure that people understand you have the knowledge, so share it.
Mhm.
And then the last one is consistency. So we always get asked, how much marketing should we do? How many blog posts? How many social medias? How many emails? How many this? And Stephanie, go ahead. What's your answer that you always give?
I always say the right amount is the amount that you can commit to. Like, and that's it. You don't want to do a ton and then disappear off the face of the earth. You don't want to not do anything and then all of a sudden appear because you've got some free time that week. Like, look at what you're already doing. That's a great place to start. Look at what you think you can manage and do that. Like, and if for you it's one blog post a week and one email a week, that's awesome. If it's, you can write something once a month, send an email once a week, and post on social twice a month, that's great. It's all correct as long as it's what you can commit to consistently.
Exactly. And I heard this tip, and it's so basic and it's so simple, and yet somehow it was also life-changing for me when I heard it. So I'm gonna share it. If you're just getting started, maybe you don't have a blog yet, and you're saying, "Well, I have a great idea for one, but I don't know what I would do next. What if I don't have something to say next?" Let's say what you'd like to do is a blog post every week. In week one, write something, but don't put it on your blog yet. Week two, write something else, but don't put it on your blog yet. Week three, same thing. On week four, post what you wrote on week one, but keep in your writing habit of every week. What you're doing is you're creating a backlog of content that's ready for you to post. So if something comes up, if you get sick, whatever could happen that stops you from writing that day, you don't have to worry about it. You have something you wrote last week ready to go. It also gives you the opportunity to throw something in there if something comes up. If there's, a big storm coming and you want to post something about storm preparation instead of whatever you were thinking about, you can drop that in and now you still have that content next. It's so silly to say sit on something for 2 or 3 weeks as you build up your next few weeks worth of stuff. I don't know why it resonated with me so well, but I thought I would share that tip because you don't have to post everything the day you think of it. It's just
Yeah.
that simple.
For sure. Like, give yourself that space, give yourself that breathing room. And if if all of a sudden like the writer's block disappears and you have four ideas, write them all on the same day. Like, it's kind of utilize your when the inspiration happens to you. A couple of great questions. So it says, can holidays be set up in advance to post automatically on website and to social media? Yes. Scheduling is really easy. And I am a huge proponent of scheduling things in advance, especially scheduling social. Michelle and kind of the rest of my team here are very, very good about keeping up with our social media calendar. And we just notate when things are scheduled. And sometimes it's more than a month out because we all know when the holidays are coming, right? Like, handle that stuff that you can handle in advance. Do it in advance when you have the moment. Time is at an absolute premium for everyone in our industry. So when you get that time to get ahead, take it.
Yep.
Matt has another question. What is too much, communication per month? Um, that again is going to be really hard to say, which is a bit of a non-answer. I realize that, but it's going to really depend on the month, on what you have to say, and what communication channels you're using. So they'll say the fourth, the secret C's channel, because that's something that ties into all of these. The way that I would like to think about kind of too much is, do you feel like you're sending too much? Like, kind of trust your gut, put yourself in your client's shoes. And if you're like, I'm not saying anything new with this particular communication, whether it's an email, a phone call, a social post, a blog post. If you feel like you're not seeing anything additive to the last few that you sent, maybe look at it again and consider taking that one off the schedule. You don't have to always go, like, say, full Coco Chanel on it, where you're supposed to take off one accessory before you leave the house. But it's not a bad way to look at your calendar if you feel like you're starting to over communicate. Michelle, anything you would
Yeah.
add there? Because you do a lot of communication scheduling for us.
Yeah, I would add, again, it comes back to that value and purpose led. What's your reason for sending out the communication? If your reason for sending it is to send it, that may be something you want to rethink. If your reason for sending it, especially if it's on the heels of something else you just sent, if your
Hmm.
reason for sending it is, I sent something yesterday and then this big thing popped up and it's very timely, I can't sit on it, yeah, by all means do it. If it's an evergreen sort of message that can wait and you just sent something, maybe let it breathe for a little bit. Um, because again, by holding something back, you're able to keep that consistency moving forward. So think about the value, think about is this adding to the conversation that I want to be having, or can it wait another week or another day or what have you? Um, but I would say as far as social media goes, you really don't need more than one post in a day. So if you're posting every single day, just once, that's probably fine. Emails, I would absolutely suggest not sending more than one per day. Um, that would be a lot. If you can even take a day off in between, that's not always easy to do, but a little bit of breathing room, absence makes the heart grow fonder, as they say. Um, but yeah, it's that value.
One thing I would say with that is bear in mind that marketing messages and servicing messages are different.
Absolutely.
And do not stress, and please, like I ask you on this, do not stress if you're scheduling marketing messages and it turns out that someone gets a marketing message and a servicing message in the same day. Don't worry, that
100%.
don't stress about that. That's gonna happen. And because they're different, you're I seriously doubt you're gonna stress out too many people. I mean, it's all happened to all of us, and we're not all running to hit the unsubscribe every time, right? We know from our own experiences as consumers. Um, that happens and that's normal.
Yep. Yep. And I think not to belabor this point, but the content of your content matters. If you are if you're sharing marketing messages that are buy, 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 or you need this product, you need this product, that gets old faster than, hey, did you know a storm's coming and these are preparations you could take? Did you know that winterizing your house could be beneficial? Did you know that this sort of thing saves you money on your insurance? Those are three completely different messages that
Mhm.
could go out closer together because they're not buy, buy, buy.
Right.
Obviously, your clients know that you want them to buy from them. That's why you're doing what you're doing. But if you're offering that value and that value differs, you have a little more leeway to play with than if it's the same message over and over and over again.
Great call out. Absolutely. So you remember they're going to you for advice. It's and that's a lucky position to be in because it does give you a lot of room to share different types of content.
For sure. For sure. All right. Should we move on to the next one?
Let's do it.
Okay. Create a straightforward customer journey. I think this speaks to exactly what we were just talking about.
Mhm.
um, understanding what your clients need from you and what their goals are. Their goals are to be protected and to understand their insurance. So when you're helping them reach their goals, you're giving them what they're looking for, and make it easy to do business with you. So that speaks to that mobile first. That speaks to having a good website. Um, the value that you're offering, all of that fits into this journey and understanding what they're going to go through.
Yep. And it's also, communicating with them in the ways that they like. I think business texting is such a huge thing right now. And again, that's something that's part of the Fuse platform, but it's a place that kind of gives your clients that chance, that asynchronous communication. If they think of something, they can text you. And then also, when we think about the client needs and goals, yes, we want it to feel very personalized, but people are going to kind of fall into buckets, into personas, and utilize that to kind of keep people informed along a path. And that's a great way to show some of that value as well, because it's kind of, when you're building a journey, you're kind of building in consistent communication as you think about how that goes. So it all ties together, and again, it's big picture, but it's very implementable.
Absolutely. And you mentioned texting, and I happen to see this statistic, and it was still up on my computer, so I just like popped over to it to grab it. But I read today that 74% of people read every single text that they get, and 70% say that text is the fastest way to reach them. So
Yeah,
if you have not added text into your process yet and into your customer journey and your communications, do it. I mean, I
mhm,
knew it was high, I knew it was popular, but 74 and 70% respectively, like that's nothing to sneeze at.
yeah,
Those are real numbers there.
that's kind of wild. But I
Yeah.
think almost what that points to now, as we think about the customer journey, we can define a customer journey that still allows our customers to engage in the journey when they want to. So texting is a great thing. Things like sending them a video proposal that they can look at 9 o'clock at night after they've cleaned up from dinner. Like that's something else where you're keeping them in that path, but you're giving them some ownership of their engagement, and that's something that consumers love, that because our consumers are people, they us want to be part of that journey as well, even if it's not something that we ever say explicitly.
Hmm. Definitely. And another piece of this too is with your website, have some self-service options for people. Have a way for people to shoot you a message through your website if that's where they are when they're thinking about what they need, whether that's, a certificate of insurance or a new ID card, or they have a claim, or, whatever the case may be. Make sure they've got a way to reach you through that. And again, we don't like to focus too much on products on these types of webinars, but the Forge website platform has tons of self-service forms built right into it that people can reach out to you to get what they need on their own time. And you'd be
Yep.
surprised how often, or maybe you wouldn't be surprised how often people are there, 11, 12 o'clock at night, like, oh, I meant to send that message. And then they hurry up and do that.
Me, that's
Make,
me. Like, I'm the problem,
yep,
it's me, right? Like it's
yep. Make it easy to do business with you by making sure the channels that people want to communicate through are there for them.
Mhm.
Um,
We have a question
yeah.
about incorporating kind of generative AI into Q&A on the website. So what's recommended for incorporating that? Um, That's a great question. I would say that's kind of it's ever changing. I completely understand the mixed feelings. That said, there's a lot of chat, kind of AI supported chat that you can incorporate that is pretty good. It can at least help people kind of get started. Um, I think that you always want to have a human as a backstop. Um, so while I understand the mixed feelings completely, I do think it's a nice first step and can alleviate some of the, I'll say, repetitive question pressure on humans. Any thoughts on that,
Absolutely.
Michelle?
Yeah, I mean, I would absolutely agree with that. I think that additionally, something in your off hours, because nobody's staffing your chat 24/7. Um, the weekends, you should take them off
Yeah.
um, as much as you can. So having something that people can use on the weekend to at least get them started or know that you do care about their concerns. You don't just shut down completely on the weekend. You've got something to try to help them. And that goes to that meeting them where they are and giving them what they need.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Should we go on? Oops.
Forward.
All right. So prepare to adjust. I
Yeah.
think the biggest thing that we as marketers here at Agency Revolution are focused on is that everything is changing all the time. That is the only constant, is that nothing is constant.
Yep.
Um, we are in a very, very quickly moving world right now, and there's just no way to get around that. So being ready to say, hey, you know what? This idea I had isn't working how I want, or, oh, I just got this great new idea. Be prepared to adjust.
Mhm.
Um, Go
Yeah,
ahead.
like what I always say is marketing is at its core, it's a series of experiments. Some of them, were done decades ago, and there's certain things that we know work. But things are always changing, especially now in digital. The upside of that is you can do a ton of testing and get lots of data about who you're talking to, how you're talking to them, what channels and what messages work with really fairly low effort and very low spend. So that's kind of the upside of knowing that the only constant in marketing is change. And I would say that said, like as you're testing, tweaking, kind of playing around with those things, don't sleep on your more traditional or consistent channels. If you've got something that is working for you, and that could be something as old school as direct mail or sponsoring a parade, or you are doing great in terms of your targeting for commercial insurance on LinkedIn, right? Either way, if it's working for you, keep it up, and then use whatever kind of the rest of your brain space and budget are to play around with some other stuff in your marketing.
Absolutely. And I think too, you know, you're gonna you're gonna hear a lot, and we're already hearing a lot about AI. It's in every conversation. Everything that I looked at, again, in preparation for this session involved something about AI.
That's the
So,
for next year. Everything, like you're going to see it. Any marketing thing when you're reading about trends right now, AI is popping up on that list.
yep. And that is something that everyone is getting used to a little bit more. That's going to be constantly evolving.
Mhm.
So it can't just be, yeah, I use AI to write a blog post, or I use AI to give me ideas for social media. 3 months from now, who knows what is going to be the next iteration of using AI in your content or in your communications. So something to just keep in mind is, again, everything is changing, nothing is static, and even the trends themselves are going to be changing over the course of the year.
Yeah.
So, and that can sound pretty daunting. I mean, when as I'm saying it, I'm just like, oh goodness, like that's
Mhm.
terrible. Um, but the truth is, we all have to stay on top of it, and that's part of our role as your trusted advisors and your marketing experts in your back pocket is, we're staying on top of that stuff to see how we can better advise you.
Yep.
um
And I would say, you don't have to be bleeding edge. Just because something is kind of popping up, like you don't have to go do it. It is um even more than acceptable, probably like recommended. Let something play out a little bit. Let the big guys, go and kind of trip over something a few times. Then you can figure out kind of how it could work for you. And you know what? Not every channel is the right channel for everybody. And that's something that I say. People I say, what should I be on? It's like, well, we got to sit down and talk about your business a little bit to understand that. So it's it's not necessary to jump right on something. And I think that goes into the measurement mindset. And that is, it's really easy to collect data. Even something as simple as a subject line test, where you're sending out kind of two different things with one send. You'll see kind of which one had the upper hand, and just track all that somewhere, even on just a spreadsheet, just to kind of know what your champion messages are. And just think about, how am I keeping track of things to know where I'm finding success and where I should reconsider. Those of you who have heard me speak before, I talk a lot about ROMI, your return on marketing investment. And that is a kind of a nice statistic to run across paid campaigns, where you're basically looking to see kind of what revenue did you gain from it versus your cost. You want to break even. You really want to get to 2.5, but like that break even is a nice way, like, yeah, this is working. Um, but again, it doesn't have to be that complex. You can just simply like look at your email open rates and say, when they come from my name, they're better. When they come from the agency, they're worse. Boom. Now you know it. You've got a new thing to look at. So the testing and iterating can be in the things you're already doing. Got a
Absolutely.
question here. Running digital marketing campaigns, we get lots of hits on our website, but are not converting to a complete form. Any suggestions? This is a universal problem. Like, um, so like I feel you. We've been there. There's a couple of things that, not knowing, Lisa, your specific situation, a couple of things that I might suggest looking at. Number one is it a very consistent brand experience going from the ad to your form? Kind of the messaging the same, the colors the same, people click through, are they getting kind of what they expect? The other thing that I would say to look at is, how long is your form? If you've got more than 5 questions on there, kind of look and see, what do you really need to have on there, and trim that form back. The next thing that I would consider, this is the hardest one, is kind of, where are you advertising? And kind of, what is the targeting on that? If you're doing things like a retargeting campaign, that can be really, really effective, but you have to make sure you've got the right geographic filters on, and the right, excuse me, the right content filters on. If you're just, Google, paid, look on some of that geography on that as well. If it's, social, paid social, you can do a lot of targeting based on location, job titles, kind of some demographic data there. That's the trickier part that generally needs a little bit more testing and learning, but you're not alone. It happens to everybody. If you have any more specific questions on that, please feel free to drop them in the chat or shoot us an email afterwards.
Yeah, I would also add to that too. Even if your form is short, even if you're not asking for information or a ton of information, the type of information you're asking for. So if you are asking for something that's complicated or sensitive or personal, people are less apt to fill it out.
Yep.
If it's difficult, if it's open-ended answers.
Oh yeah, no free text. No free text. Don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. If you make every single thing required and you've got one thing in there, I'll tell you, there are many forms where I'll go to fill them out and they ask for one piece of information where I'm just like, meh, really don't want them asking me about that. Like that's not a piece of information they need to know for me to get, this PDF or get the basic information I'm trying to get from them. And I'll abandon the whole thing because it doesn't mean that much to me.
Mhm.
So think about that. Like, obviously, you need their email. First name's great, but, do you need to know what company they work for? Probably not. If you make that mandatory, that might be a deterrent. So there's that testing as well. You could try taking something off. You could try adding something on, making something optional or not. Um, those are all things that you could test. And the other thing that I would say is make sure that the landing page that it goes to, where that form is, fits with the intention of whatever brought them there.
Mhm.
So if the social, let's say it's a paid social post and it talks about, I'm going to be very silly and broad here, but like let's say it's about personal insurance and they get to a landing page that's about business insurance, it's not going to convert.
Yeah.
And it could be a mistake. And I mean, obviously, that is so you'd probably catch if you made that mistake, but make sure that the flow seems right. They know they landed where they expected to land, and they're giving you the next logical piece of information to get to the next step. You'd be surprised at how easy it is to have something seem like it's got a disconnect. And so change it up, see if it does any better. If it
Yep.
does, then there's your answer. And if not, you could try something else.
And have a friend or a spouse or a family member or someone who's not in insurance look at it.
Yes.
Um, I said, like, we as a group do that all the time, where we'll take something away to someone we know who's in a different industry, and she's like, does this make sense to you? Um, and like, yeah, like, use Michelle teases me because I'm always telling people to go and like use your COIs, but like, your friends and family are your COIs in this case, right? Like, let them influence you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was a great question, though. Um, all right. Well, that was the last slide that we have.
Yeah.
So
Any other
speaking of
questions?
questions, be happy to answer anything else that comes up.
Oh, this is a great bit of advice. Don't drop them on your homepage, right? Make sure that you send them to a landing page that is aligned to what they clicked on. Yeah, Adam, thank you for calling that out. That's a great bit of the hive mind working here.
Yeah.
Someone find a recording of this session. This will be on the Agency Revolution webpage, and webinar recordings, right? And that's in our is that our what is this at the
Resources tab.
resources? Yes, in our resources tab on our website. We will shoot to have that up tomorrow.
Yep. And then we also send out an email to anybody who's registered, so you should get it in your inbox as well.
Yeah. Oh well, Matt, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Appreciate the
Matt.
compliment. Thank you very much for your questions. And
Alrighty.
then should the landing page be a squeeze page? So Michelle, you set up a lot of our landing pages. Thoughts?
Um, I I don't actually have a really good answer for that one.
It's
Stephanie, what do you think?
yeah, I think that's a really good test. And then for those of you who aren't familiar with squeeze pages, they're basically like it's just the form. Kind of they're single focused pages rather than having your form on a like regular web page. We at Agency Revolution do like a more of a form fill page. Squeeze pages are great on mobile, so that might be a good test for you to do. What I would say is this kind of goes back to that measurement mindset. Do it for one quarter one way and one quarter another and see what happens.
Yeah, I can't say that I've really tested that a lot in any real fashion to say like whether I've gotten a better result one way or another. Um,
But maybe that's a test we'll take on next year.
yeah, yeah. Remember that, Stephanie. Put it on our to-do
Yeah,
list.
I'll put it on the brainstorm list. Well, that's something, as you're thinking of stuff, like we keep a team brainstorm list when we get ideas or we see someone in another industry doing something interesting. Do that. And that way, when you do have a little bit of time to focus on your marketing or think about creating something, you've got a list that's already there. And you don't have to try to remember that great idea you had 2 months ago.
100%. I won't remember the great idea I had 2 minutes ago.
You and me both.
All
um,
right.
Questions are slowing down. So
Yep.
I'll sign off first and just say thank you everybody for joining us today. Great questions. Really hope that you found this valuable and have some things to think about as you start the new year. Happy holidays. Enjoy the rest of 2023. This is our last webinar of the year. So we'll be back in 2024.
Yeah. Yeah, and thank you everybody for your time. Keep an eye out for our slate of upcoming events in Q1. That's going to be populating that upcoming events page on our website soon. And of course, we'll email you about them as well. So do keep an eye out for that. And, I've been asking everybody internally, so I'll ask our participants here today. If you've got something you want to know about that you think would be a great presentation for us, or you think that we haven't covered it yet, you can send that email to agencyrev@agencyrevolution.com. That's going to come right to my inbox. And, maybe we'll use it for a future session and we'll give you a shout out on it.
Love it. And I'll say what I've been saying to everybody in the last few webinars is we are coming to the end of the year. If you have not spent your co-op dollars, that is money in your pocket you're not spending. Do that. And of course, Agency Revolution's products are, options for most co-ops. That's all.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you, Stephanie, for a great conversation.
Thanks, Michelle. This is fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
All
All right.
right. Talk to
Have
everyone
a good
soon.
day, everybody. Bye bye.